Hey, welcome to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we come into your phone, into your computer to help you understand the more technical side of the real estate industry. And we've got a not so technical topic today. It's a topic you need to know how to master, whether you're a new agent or whether you're a seasoned agent and you're just looking to up your game. Today's topic is going to apply directly to you. This is a live stream, so send in your comments, send in your questions. Let me know what you think of the stream. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, if you hate everything about this, let us know. We want to hear about that in the comments. Hopefully you're going to enjoy it. Hopefully you're going to love it. And you're going to send in some great questions for me so I can help you guys understand at a higher level what you could be doing to maximize your open house. That's what we're focusing on today, is the open houses. This is such a crucial key way to obtain new clients, especially when you're a new agent. So let's talk real quick just about some of the benefits as a new agent of holding open houses. So one of the big benefits, because when you get your real estate license, it's not where you have the license and all of a sudden you're out left and right selling houses. You need people to sell houses too. You need sellers, you need buyers, and your open house can help you get both of those. It can help you get sellers, it can help you get buyers. Now, even if you don't have any listings yourself to hold as an open house, team up with an agent that does have a listing that they don't want to do an open house for. A lot of agents don't like doing open houses. They've got better things they want to do with their Saturday. But hey, if you want to get some easy leads, an open house is a great way to do it. And really the only thing that you're spending here is your time. It really doesn't, it's very minimal investment, which is why it's such a great way to obtain new clients through holding open houses. So you could get buyer leads. The fun fact here is that less than 1% of houses sell as a result of an open house. So your focus isn't necessarily trying to sell the house you're holding open. You know, that's a high pressure situation. You're not going to like that. The people coming in there aren't going to like that. And again, less than 1% of houses sell as a result of an open house. But the people coming into that open house probably need a house. It may not be that one, but they might be looking at other houses and they may want to buy a house. So you don't have to sell them just that house. The beauty of having a real estate license is you can help them buy any property in the entire state of Florida. So it's a great way to get buyer leads. Now, what you also might get are nosy neighbors coming in there. And now a lot of agents like to kind of, give them the stereotype and the stigma that they're just a nosy neighbor that's over there to waste your time and eat your free food and so on and so forth. But I would venture to say that there's probably other things they'd rather be doing than hanging out at your open house. So chances are, if you've got a neighbor wandering in there, they're probably thinking about selling their house. That's why they want to see maybe what the inside of their house is. Maybe they don't want to sell their house tomorrow, but maybe a year down the road, 6 months down the road, maybe even 3 months, or maybe they are even thinking of hey, I want to sell my house, and they're just there to feel out whether or not you're going to be good to help them sell their house. So you're going to also be able to get seller leads as well. And you got to tune yourself in to these possibilities. By every person that walks in, they're either a buyer lead or a seller lead, or the seller is probably also a buyer lead unless they're moving out of state, and at least you could get some sort of referral fee in that case. So buyers leads and seller leads, that's what you have to be in tune with. Every person walking in there, they're not just a nosy neighbor, they're not somebody coming in here to eat your free food, they're a potential lead for each and every one of these, and you have to treat them with care, and that's part of what we're going to be talking about today. So you can get buyer leads, seller leads, and most of all, you get experience exhibiting properties. So a lot of new agents, they'll come to me and say, okay, John, I want to go out there and be able to really wow them when I show a house. And that's great because, it could really make a difference between whether or not somebody wants to buy a house or not buy a house if you go show them the house with all the blinds closed and the lights turned off and it's overall dark and you don't really understand how to properly exhibit a property or point out the things they need to know, such as the things that are wrong or the great features of the property. So this helps you gain experience as well. So it's essential that you do some open houses when you're first starting off. Number one, to get leads, whether that's buyer leads or seller leads. And number two, to gain the experience of exhibiting the properties. So that's some of the benefits of doing the open house. Now we're going to be talking about how to really maximize your open house. We're going to focus on really three key aspects of this three key areas. We've got the before, the during, and the after. So we've got these three key areas we're going to be talking about today to really maximize your open house. What things you need to be doing before, what things you need to be doing during, and what you want to be doing after the open house. Because at each one of these stages, there's a crucial, essential step that's going to make the difference, because you've probably talked to real estate agents before that says, oh yeah, you know, open houses don't really work. I don't like doing open houses. They're just a waste of time. And if you're not following these essentials we're talking about for before, during, and after, then yeah, you basically are wasting your time. If you're not going to do an open house right, there's not much point in doing the open house at all. Do it right so you can really maximize the time it is that you have holding that house open. Unless you don't value your time, you definitely want to put in the work ahead of time. It's going to take a little bit of planning for some of this stuff beforehand. We'll even talk about some ways we could really spend a little bit of money. Now, we're not talking huge amounts of money. You could really kind of maximize your return on investment with some very minor type of advertising investments you can make on the beforing part of this. We're going to talk about what you're doing during, because that's going to be really a big key part of this. And we're also going to focus on what you want to be doing after the open house, because yes, there is things you want to do after the house. Hopefully you've generated some leads, and that's kind of really the big part of this here for the after stage. But let's talk about what you need to be doing before the open house. And again, if you guys have questions or comments on any of this stuff, put those in the comments. I've got the YouTube and the Facebook chats loaded up right on here. So if you're watching on that and you don't understand quite something that we're talking about, or maybe you have something you want to add to this, I'd love to hear from you. Put it in the comments. So now when we're dealing with the beforehand, one of the things that's going to be really essential to your before, and this I would really place before anything else, this is going to be above all for everything, and that's going to be marketing. So before you're actually doing the open house, you have to do some marketing. You can't just expect to show up at the open house at 12 o'clock on a Saturday or 12 o'clock on a Sunday without doing any marketing and expect people just miraculously just flow and pour into the house saying, oh, look at this open house. No, I mean, yeah, you might get a couple people if you put out some signs that come wandering in there. But again, if you really want to maximize your time, because if you only have 2 or 3 people coming into your open house, I mean, that alone might be worth it. But we want to maximize this here. We don't want to just get by. We don't want to just survive. We want to thrive. And that's what we're talking about. And the marketing is really the key part of this. So let's talk about some of the ways you can actually market this open house. Now, one of the big things I would definitely recommend doing, let's just jump right into probably the one key thing I would say that's probably most important for marketing this property. And that's going to be running digital ads. Specifically, we're going to be talking about Facebook. So you guys are watching Facebook right now, or you're watching on YouTube open house. So you want to create a digital ad basically, and you don't want to just do one. I would say do a bunch of different ones, and you could test it, you could trial it, you could see what actually works. That's the power of digital advertising. You could actually see this return on investment that you're getting. And what I would definitely recommend doing is setting up an RSVP form. Now you might want to say, John, I don't need people to RSVP for my open house. They could just show up. That's fine. Well, if you just spend this money advertising the open house, you definitely want to have some sort of RSVP, some way to basically get this person to almost pre-register to come to the open house. Number one, so you know how effective your ads are being and know what kind of interest it's generating. Because let's say you were just making a video, which is going to be great in and of itself, and that's going to be one of the strategies that we're talking about with these digital ads. But let's say you made an open house video. You're standing in front of the house. So you've got the house that you're going to hold open. Let's say this was the house we're going to hold open here. We'll have to get a picture of a house back here so we can pretend we're doing an open house here. We've got our house it is that we're going to be holding open. And we have, whether we're making a selfie video, you know, if we got to do this ourselves, that works. People will see that. You're just getting the message out there, and that's the whole key point here. You don't want to go too overkill with this here, especially when you're doing these ads. Don't put text in your videos or your images, because Facebook will really kind of ding you on that, and they won't allow you to show the ads, or it's going to cost you a lot more to show the ads. So just keep it authentic, keep it genuine, keep it short, keep it sweet, and just be like, hey, Hey, this is John Carissimo here to tell you about the open house we have this Saturday. This house is beautiful on the inside. I can't wait for you to see it. RSVP in the form below to register to have an appointment at the open house, or however it is that you word it like that, but just something short, sweet, simple, and have it go to some sort of lead capture form, some sort of form for kind of like a registration for this open house. And with this, it's basically, again, you might say, well, I don't need them to register for the open house, but you still want to try to get their contact information. The point isn't to get them to register for the open house to really understand how many people are going to come, because those people that are registering probably won't even come. They're more likely to come because you could send them a reminder now that you have their contact information, but mainly this is used to be lead capture. So you're really killing two birds with one stone here. You're marketing your open house, but at the same time, you're actually capturing leads as well. And Facebook makes it really easy to do this. Even if you don't have a website or a lead form, you don't know how to do any of that stuff, Facebook will make lead forms for you. There's actually lead form ads that you could use, and you definitely want to be using that when you're advertising this. Now, we're talking about how the advertisement looks, and before we go on break, I just want to go ahead and tell you now who it is that you want to market to. Who you want to market to with these Facebook ads. So what I would recommend doing is you're going to basically take it's going to show up a little bit of a map here when you're going and creating the ads at some point here. You got your map with your intersecting little streets here. Maybe there's a little cul-de-sac here in this one. So you've got this map, and what you want to do basically is take the address of the property. Take the address of that property, and then you want to go plus so many miles. So it's going to allow you to do, you put in the address of the property it is that you're trying to target, and then you're maybe going to say something like plus 25 miles. 25 is actually quite large. You might want to even do something a little bit smaller than this here. You'll be able to tell the amount of people it is that you're going to reach, especially if you're in an urban area like the Tampa market. You're probably more so looking at 5 miles, 10 miles. If it's a more suburban type of area, maybe New Tampa, Fishhawk, or any of these areas throughout the entire country that are more suburban, that's where you want to expand this out a little bit more. But you want to look at how many people it is you're going to reach. And this is kind of a balance that you're going to achieve here, because you want to make sure you're getting repetition, and these people are seeing this ad multiple times until they go through and convert and sign up on the registration form or whatever it may be. But in order to get the repetition, you have to shrink this down a little bit smaller. So you might have to go down to a smaller ad size. Again, like I said, maybe 10 miles or maybe 5 miles. So that way you can see, based on your budget, how much you're willing to spend advertising and marketing this property. And definitely, number one, pick a smaller area that'll allow higher repetition before you try to expand out into a larger area. Only do a larger area if you're able to afford to have the repetition still of marketing that open house that you have. And like I said, this could be just a picture of the house with a little bit of a description, and you could do multiple ads, and within the same strategy, the same campaign, you set a certain dollar amount you want to spend for this, and then you could put all these different ads, and then basically it'll show you which ones are converting the best, and then that's the one you want to kind of take it and run with. And the last thing before we go on a quick break here, and we'll cover some more of this stuff here, is when you want to do this. I would say at least a week in advance. You could go 2 weeks with this, but you want to be careful here, because people will probably start forgetting about this. And again, you want to have the repetition here and building that up. So maybe if you're holding the open house on Saturday, you might start it on that Saturday or on that Sunday the week before, so that way people start seeing this, and that way they're planning to visit your open house. That's the thing it is they're going to do on Saturday, and they've already pre-registered, so you're sending them reminders. You might have even called them and say, hey, I saw that you signed up for the open house. And you might even want to go and show them the property ahead of time if they want to before the open house. Give them an exclusive preview, and you could show them some other houses. There's so many ways to turn this into a great method to generate leads, and this is just the tip of the iceberg with some of the things you want to do beforehand. So that's the advertising strategy. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to be talking about more things that you need to know to maximize your exposure of your open house. And again, if you guys have questions about this stuff, put them in the comments. I'm going to look over these while we're on the break here, and when we come back, we're going to try to answer some of your comments and talk more about the open houses and what to be doing before. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Tampa 10 years ago is nothing like Tampa today. It's changed dramatically over those years, and that's what's really transitioning this to be the number one healthiest housing market
in the entire nation.
want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we come into your phones, your mobile devices, your tablets, your computers, your TV screen, if you're watching me on the big screen, to tell you about ways to enhance your real estate business, to understand the real estate industry, to learn these topics. And this is one of the topics that I've requested from one of our students here. So if you guys are a student in one of our classes, send an email into us or even put it in the comments here, get a hold of us somehow, and we'll try to structure an episode on something that will help you out with this. This episode about open houses specifically came from one of our students asking, hey, I want to do some open houses. I heard about open houses. What can I do to really get the most exposure? And we actually had a comment come in here from Logan. How do you get more people to come to my open houses? So, and this is the big, really important thing I want to emphasize. The before is the big, really, what planning you put in ahead of time. Because again, if you think of the extreme scenario of this, if you just go out there on a Saturday and don't do anything beforehand and just go on a Saturday, hold an open house open and just sit there and wait for people to come in, no one's going to come in. At the very least, you have to go put out some signs to get some people coming into your property, but you don't want to just get by with these open houses. You want to really try to maximize your exposure and get as many people to know about this open house as possible. And even if this isn't your listing, if it is your listing, you're really going to be able to cash in on this here because you're putting extra exposure and marketing out there for your listing, which is why, if this isn't your listing, why so many agents, especially if you tell them what your plan is to market this open house, they'll get really excited because they'll be like, oh great, yeah, you're going to do that marketing for me? Fantastic. Yeah, you can hold more open houses for me. So you're advertising your brand, you're advertising the property, and you're advertising this open house. Again, you want to have the lead capture form with your ad it is that you're doing, so that way you can get people to pre-register. But like I said, this is an expense. This is an expense for this advertising. Facebook doesn't let you advertise for free. Yeah, you could have like an organic social media post, but if it's about an open house, it's probably not going to get too much traction. It's got to be, funny with like some cats in it or some animals doing cute stuff or somebody cooking food. If you're not doing any of those things, it's probably not going to be an effective free post. Anything that's not something that exciting like that, you're going to have to spend some money to advertise it if you really want to get it out there to people. So we're talking about the before, we talked about the ads. Now, again, if you're a new agent, you might not have a ton of money to spend on ads. You might not have any money to spend on ads, and that's okay because there's other ways to go around this as well. Let's say you still want to do an advertisement, but you don't have any money to do an advertisement. How can you still do an advertisement if you don't have money to do an ad, but you still want to do the ad because you want to try to go all in on this open house? So let's talk about the concept of other people's money, this OPM concept, other people's money that we could use here. So let's talk about who we could collaborate with that could benefit from this. Now, if this isn't our listing, we could automatically think of who would have an immediate benefit for getting exposure to this listing, and that would be the listing agent. So these are people that you can collaborate with. The listing agent on the property is one. Also a lender. A lender is a great resource for somebody to collaborate with showing the property. Maybe a title company, any of these vendors, a home inspector, anything that you could have. I mean, with this open house, you don't want to think of it as just some boring humdrum open house, but think of it more as a home showcase where people are coming into this open house not just to see the house, but to talk to every type of person it is that they need to talk to about buying a house. You want to be the one-stop shop, the central hub. And if it's just you marketing the open house, you could probably do a pretty good job. But when you have other people behind you, when you have a team of people, and not even having a real estate team, but just having a lender, maybe the listing agent on the property. If it's your listing, then you're the listing agent. Maybe having a home inspector or an appraiser or anybody that you could talk to that you've networked with that's hungry for business, that wants to get out there and meet new people. Not only having them contribute to the advertising for the property, but also having them contribute their time. So not just other people's money, but other people's time as well. Having them there at the property. At the very least, this lender aspect, this is an essential part where the lenders, you could find a lot of hungry lenders out there that are hungry to talk to new clients. So now, not all of them. There are some of them that rather do other things on their Saturday, but there's a lot of lenders out there who will be willing to sit at that open house with you. And hopefully you're not going to be doing sitting. You're going to be walking around, talking to people, showing people the house, talking about the property, and so on and so forth. So you want to get this collaboration. Find some people you could collaborate with. Hey, if you want to get an open house going and you're just ready to start getting out there and holding the open house, then you could worry about this later, worried about getting a lender. Just get out there and do an open house this weekend or next weekend. The frequency is a big part of this as well. But when you want to take this to the next level, that's why you want to get people to collaborate with you on this here, so you can maximize the traffic you have coming into the property as well as maximize the client experience. Because when people have a good time and when they're enjoying and they feel like they're getting value out of coming to this open house, even if they don't like the property, they'll want to work with you as the agent. And that's ultimately the goal here. The goal of the open house is that even if they don't like the property, you want them to like you and want to do business with you. That's your ultimate goal here. If they like the property, great, you can write up a contract and easy commission money right there, but that's very rare to happen. Again, less than 1% of houses sell as a result of an open house, but that doesn't mean other houses aren't going to sell. Other houses are selling all the time as a result of you holding an open house and getting that lead and showing them a great experience. So you want to try to collaborate with some people, as many people as you can. Like I said, a lender's a great resource for that, to help pay for some of this marketing and so on and so forth. We talked about the video preview or the video promo. So again, doing an advertisement, or even if you're just doing this without spending any advertising money, at least do some videos of you maybe doing sneak peeks of the property. Maybe you're doing one outside the property, then a few days into this here, you do another advertisement from a key attribute, a key feature of the property, something like the kitchen. If the property has a phenomenal kitchen, then maybe stand in the kitchen and talk about something in the kitchen. Hey, this is the kitchen of the property that we're holding open this weekend. This is such a beautiful kitchen. Check out the stainless steel appliances, the farm sink, or whatever the things that it has that you're pointing out. Again, you want to try to channel your inner home seekers or whatever the HGTV shows. I don't even know the names of them because I don't really watch them too much, but I used to watch them, and it was really good for kind of learning how to put on a show when you're actually showcasing the property. And that's what you want to do with these promo videos. And what you could do is just schedule an hour or two for you to be in the property before the open house, way before the open house, at least a week or 2 weeks out, so you can get these videos made up, and then just shoot a couple videos and then just drop them on Facebook, drop them on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram, just little type of kind of teasers that you're going to have to advertise, hopefully, to increase that exposure, but also just kind of building that interest about the property. So definitely the video is a huge part of this right here. Now, last thing I want to talk about that you want to do before the open house. So again, it's not just buyers and buyer leads that we're concerned with that we want to obtain, but also seller leads. So seller leads, in addition to buyer leads, are also a big part of this. And the people that are most likely to come visit an open house when they're thinking about selling the property themselves are people in the neighborhood. People from outside the neighborhood, unless they're looking to move there themselves, probably aren't going to go to an open house that's really far away for them. But if there's people in the neighborhood that are thinking about selling their property, those are very likely people that'll walk down the street or walk down a few blocks or drive a couple of blocks to go see the property that's being an open house in the neighborhood. So they'll know what their property is competing with when they go to sell the property. So you definitely want to door knock and flyer the neighborhood. So what you want to be doing with this here, and I know that it sounds like something that's not going to be fun to do, but you know, it will be fun when you have a lot more people coming into your open house. You're preparing for the fun with this kind of door knocking experience. You're getting to meet people and show them what it is that you could do with these open houses. So we'll kind of do something right off the top of my head here. You're knocking on the door saying, "Hey, I'm John Carissimo. I'm actually a realtor that specializes in this neighborhood. I just wanted to stop by to let you know we're holding an open house tomorrow at 123 Main Street down the road. Are you familiar with the property?" And they're like, "Oh, you know, we're not." But yeah, I completely understand that you're not going to want to buy the house down the street. That makes sense. This house, I think, is a lot nicer than that house, anyways. You know, give them a little bit of flattery and whatnot. But you tell them, it's like, "Hey, look, you know, we're going to have tons of free snacks and drinks there that." And definitely come by and check it out. We're going to have some music, and it's just a great place. And if you ever do want to sell your house, it's great to see what you're competing with down the street. So just, again, very low pressure, making it come across that you're a good person and a friend, and you're inviting them to come check it out. So that's going to be huge. And you want to go through and hit really as many of these homes as you want. I want to say at least 100. At least 100. And yeah, plan for a couple of hours of actually doing this. And if you don't get anybody answering the door, you just leave a flyer. "Hey, sorry I missed you." And maybe put a little handwritten message on there as well, so that they see that it's a kind of a personalized interaction that you were trying to have when you showed up at the property. Leave that flyer on the door, maybe tucked in between the door, maybe with a rubber band around the doorknob. There's a lot of different ways you could do this here. But "Hey, sorry I missed you here. I just wanted to invite you to the open house that we're holding tomorrow. If you've got questions, call or text me," and then throw your number in there or your email or whatever contact information it is that you want to include with that there. But this is going to be huge, because I guarantee when you're talking to people doing these door knocking, there's going to be some of them that are thinking about selling their property. And they may be thinking about selling their property, but they're not ready to tell people that they want to sell their property, especially telling a door-to-door salesman that's walking by. They're very likely, they're not going to probably be 100% upfront and honest with you right away and say, "Oh, you know, I want to sell my house," unless they're really ready to pull the trigger at that point. So you want to kind of warm them up to you, say, "Hey, look, I know you're probably not thinking about buying or selling a house right now, but I really wanted you to come over and check this out. It's a great property. I still think yours is a little bit better, but you know, it's great to know what competition you have in the neighborhood. Plus, we'll have some snacks and drinks." You get their contact info, you start building the relationship, and that's a huge way to get more traffic into the property. And when people see other people in the property, they're like, "Oh, this is a popular place. This is a popular property. Let's look around and see why this is so popular." So that's kind of like the whole psychological thing of wanting to have as many people there as you can to kind of pack the house, so to say, of the open house. And all the is what it's trying to achieve. We're trying to pack the house, get as many people in there as we can, so that way these next two steps we're going to talk about, the during and after stages of the open house, are going to be as effective as they can be. We're going to take another quick commercial break, but while we're on commercial, put your comments and questions in the questions on the chat on YouTube and the comments on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for liking and thanks for sharing the stream. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but we're right back. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Tampa 10 years ago is nothing like Tampa today. It's changed dramatically over those years, and that's what's really transitioned this to be the number one healthiest housing market
in the entire nation.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. I'm John Chrisman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. Every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Time, we come into your devices, into your TVs, your phones, your computers, on Facebook, on YouTube, to help you understand the technical side of the real estate industry. And what we're talking about today is understanding how to effectively maximize your time that you're spending holding an open house. Look, if you're going out there on a Saturday or Sunday at 12 noon and just going walking into the house and expecting people to just show up, you're wasting your time. And that's why it's so important that you have these before aspects of this here. If you guys are just tuning in, make sure you go back and watch the recording after the fact with this here. I think you could save the stream or something like that. If you're on Facebook or on YouTube, it's going to be the same page where you could just go through and refresh it after the show's over and go back and watch the first section of how to maximize the marketing of your open house. And all the stuff we talked about, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Those are some great things that are going to get a lot more detailed when you get into them to actually maximizing your exposure of the open house. But that's really the key thing. You got to be putting in the work ahead of time to get people to know about your open house. Again, and this seems like such a simple concept, but people aren't going to just show up. They have to, number one, know that you're holding an open house. So that's the first problem. The first problem you have is getting people to know you're holding an open house. The second problem you have is getting people to want to come to your open house. So you got to keep those problems in mind. And the third problem, really, again, another one that gets overlooked a lot, is not just knowing about the open house or not just wanting to go, but remembering to go to the open house. And that's why you want to do that reservation type of form for the open house where people could kind of pre-register, make a reservation or whatever it is, get more info, however it is that you want to structure that, test out some things to see what works the best. But that way you're able to remind them, hey, the open house is today. Look forward to seeing you there. Maybe sending them text messages or emails or giving them a call, whatever it may be that you're doing to make sure that you're going to have a lot of traffic at the open house. Because if people don't show up at your open house, you're just wasting your time there. And we definitely don't want to do that. We don't want to waste our time. We want to maximize our time at this open house. And that brings us now to what we're going to be doing during the open house. So the first half of the show, we're talking all about what you're going to be doing before the open house. Now it's what you're doing during the open house. Because you could go through all this stuff. You could spend thousands of dollars advertising. You could door knock every single property in the entire Tampa Bay area. So you can see we're talking about extremes here. You could do all of that stuff and still not have a successful house if you're not being there physically and mentally at 100%. Because again, your goal here at the open house isn't necessarily to sell the house you're holding open. That's like a bonus. That's like winning the lottery when somebody comes in and actually wants to buy the house you're holding open. Probably a little bit more often that occurs than actually winning the lottery, but you get the idea. That's a bonus for when somebody wants to buy the house you're holding open. Your goal is to give them a great experience so that way they like you, they feel open with you, and then you could actually turn them into a client. You take them and you show them properties, because if you're just holding the house open to try to sell the open house, you're going to be disappointed. So the goal and the outcome here isn't to get them to buy the house, it's to get them to buy you, to like you, to want to do business with you. When you're able to do that, that's when you're having an effective open house. So let's talk about first and foremost here what we want to do with holding this open house during. So number one, when they show up, let's even talk about before they show up at the door. So before they even show up at the door here, they're pulling up to the house. There shouldn't be any shadow of a doubt of what house is being held open. You want to have balloons out there. Maybe, one of those big inflatable, like this guy that does this thing. That type of move, the little inflatable thing. So you get yourself one of those things that cost maybe like $100 on Amazon or something like that, or borrow one from a car dealer or who knows what. But those things, they draw attention. They'll see, oh, that's where the open house is, and they'll know that this isn't going to be an average open house. They see one of these guys out in the front yard, they'll be like, oh, this isn't going to be the normal open house. They won't know what to expect when they come in this open house and they see one of those flailing arm mans out in the front yard. So that's a great thing to do. Balloons, having signs, definitely having the signs that say open house. That's nothing original right there. And sometimes people will just see right through these signs and they won't even pay attention to them if they look that generic. So you want to draw attention to the property. So that way when they're pulling up to it, they already know that this is the open house. And they're not going to show up at the wrong house because they see that this is the one. Now, in Florida, this could get expensive, but I would recommend having the door open. If it's got some sort of screen door or maybe one of those glass doors that you can see through, that's even better. But having the door open or maybe having somebody up front so that way they're greeted as soon as they're getting to the door. Having that door open, yeah, you're going to be letting all kinds of air conditioning outside. It'll probably cost you $100, if not more, just in the air conditioning cost for that property, really costing the seller. But you want to keep them happy as well about this open house, but you want to have them feel welcomed when they come into the open house, and when they actually walk up to the door, that's on you as well. Not just having the door open, but actually walking in and not looking around and be like, okay, well, I guess is this the open house here? Is this the open house? Am I just wandering into somebody's house? Usually the flailing arm man will kind of clue them in that this is an open house, but you want to be in there and just as enthusiastic as that flailing arm man, maybe a little bit more not so all over the place, but hey, I'm John Chrisma, welcome to 123 Main Street or whatever the property is. What are your names? And you just start talking to them and getting to know them. And you want to have yourself a clipboard. Have yourself a clipboard or at the very least some sort of notepad, something that you could kind of be taking some notes on. My recommendation for this here is, again, you want to try to get their contact info. You're building the relationship with them and you want to get their contact info. And sometimes if you're just good enough of a person and you're good enough of an exhibitor of the property and you're building that relationship with them, they'll be willing to give you their info. If you say, hey, look, I'd love to follow up with you on your home buying process, hopefully you're getting to the end of them wanting to when they're leaving here, and they already know that you're the person that they want to use. You're the guy or you're the girl that they want to use. So you want to build that relationship, but if you're not quite that over the top, that's okay as well. There's other ways you could handle this, and there's a few different things I would recommend. Probably the one I would least recommend, but I'll tell you about it anyways, is having a sign-in sheet and saying that this is a sign-in sheet for security purposes. I would venture to say don't even use that one, just because when it's a sign-in sheet for security purposes, they're probably not even going to put down the correct contact info. They'll probably just like whatever, they'll probably just scribble something down there to have it down. What would work a lot better than that, if you really want to maybe get some people excited about coming to this open house extravaganza or whatever it is that you want to call it here, that you're actually maybe having some sort of raffle or some sort of giveaway or something like that where you're saying, hey, look, we're giving away a gift card to everyone to one of the people that show up at the house today. All you got to do is fill out this form right here and you'll be entered to win. And I'll be honest with you, we haven't had too many people here today, so your chances are looking pretty good. And just so you know, I'm the one that's doing the drawing. Maybe give them one of those things. So they'll want to put down their correct contact information. That's another way to go about it. Or it could just be the direct way where you're really wowing them with the customer service and you say, hey, look, I want to stay in touch with you guys. I feel like I'm part of your home buying process now. I'd love to help you out and give you guys some additional information that you need to know when you're buying a house. So even if you decide you don't want to buy an open house, you at least could go into this with the knowledge that you need, and that might be enough. You might even not have some sort of gimmick if you're really coming across as that much of a professional. But whatever way you go about this, have some way that you're able to collect contact info. Now, another thing you can do during the open house, and this is great if maybe the traffic isn't that great and you've got some free time here, or maybe that you're in between people coming in there, or whenever you have a moment, because if there's people in there, you don't want to be off doing this because they'll be like, what is this guy doing? He doesn't even care about us here. He's not giving us any attention. So give people attention when they're there in the open house. But what you could be doing, pick up your phone, do one of these little live streams. It's real easy to do a live stream on Facebook or any of these platforms now, and you don't need anything fancy. You don't need a fancy studio like this, especially when you're in an exciting place. If we were in this room here without this fancy little set here, you'd be really bored watching me. But when you're in an open house, a nice, beautiful house, that's where you could just kind of do one of these things and just talk into the camera and say, hey, look, it's John Chrismo. I'm live from our open house that we're doing here at 123 Main Street. We're doing the open house until 5 p.m. today, so if you haven't stopped by to check it out, you need to come see this property. We've got free drinks, we've got free refreshments, we've got a lender here to get you pre-qualified, and again, kind of really just showcasing this and building up that anticipation about the property. You might get a couple people that'll react and respond to that and actually come to the open house, but at the very least, you're helping build your exposure. And also with the clients that were in that open house, you could tell them, hey, oh yeah, check out the live stream that we recorded earlier. You could go find find it at my Facebook page or my website or wherever it is that you're posting it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, look, I want to see if I see myself, and maybe they wave to the camera or something like that. People get excited about those types of things. So definitely try to continue to market while you're actually holding the open house. And maybe you're even talking about another open house. It's like, hey, I'd love to see you guys coming out here today, and we're going to be here until 5 o'clock if you still haven't made it by yet. But also next weekend, we're going to be doing another open house at blah, 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 321 Main Street, or whatever the other address may be. So always be promoting and advertising and marketing your business and and your events it is that you're holding. So like I said, go live to further market and gain more exposure during the open house. So you want to collect contact info. Most importantly, again, you want to wow the visitors. You want to get excited. If that means you got to go get some caffeine, go get yourself some coffee, an energy drink, whatever it is that you got to do to get yourself excited, smiling, happy, and ready to be excited about working with people, getting your mind in the right place. Because again, every person walking in that door is a potential client, and you need to wow them. If there's one thing I would say that's most important, it's number one, wowing them. Because if you don't wow them, it's not going to matter if you collect their contact info. And if you're not wowing them, it doesn't matter going live, because you can market this all you want, but if you're not wowing them when you're there, then again, you're kind of wasting your time with this. So definitely try to wow them. That's the number one thing I would recommend. And that just comes down to your excitability, excited to serve them. And yes, that's what you're doing. You're serving them, but you're serving them in exchange for money. So it's okay. So get that mind out of your head that you don't want to serve people. Yes, you're serving people to show them value. So that way, in turn, you're able to make money on the transaction. They're exchanging. It's really their money as the buyer. It's the seller paying the commission, but who's that money coming from? The money's coming from the buyer. So it's really the buyer that's paying you, even though the money's paid out of the seller's portion on the closing statement, and so on and so forth in most cases. So you got to wow them, because in order for them to want to use you and allow you to earn money and earn commission on helping them buy a property, there has to be value in exchange. And that comes down to, like I said, having that wow effect. Let's see here. Like I said, you want to try to have the lender there. Again, I mentioned when we were doing like the live stream thing, hey, we've got a lender here, so come in and have you done a pre-approval yet? Oh, look, it only takes a couple minutes here. They'll tell you all about it. It's not affecting your credit score, the approval that they're doing, so on and so forth, or whatever it is that the lender has for their little pitch. You don't want to have a lender that's, if you're going to try to wow people, you want to have a lender that's also on the same page, that's going to wow people as well. If they're willing to come to the open house and be at the open house for a few hours on their weekend and take time away from their time they'd probably be spending with their family, they'll probably be somebody that wants to wow people. But you don't want to have somebody that's just going to kind of sit there and be quiet and not talk to people, because you could be wowing people, but if that person, they might say, who's the person sitting over there? Why do they keep looking at us? Why are they staring at us? So you got to have somebody that's personable, that's going to wow them as well with that there. If you want, if not, don't even have them there in the first place. It's better to not have them there rather than have some kind of creepy person that's going to be sitting there just kind of staring at them, smiling, kind of urging them over to come over. They'll get creeped out by that. So you definitely want to have a lender that's going to, again, have that, be on the same page with wowing them, because that's really the most important part out of all this here. Also, food and drinks, I've mentioned that a couple times. Don't get yourself too elaborate. Don't go break the bank and get like fancy like sandwiches that are going to cost you $100 for a tray of sandwiches or whatever it may be. Yeah, you could do that if you know you've got the money to spend on something like that, but you don't need to overthink this. You just want to have really kind of something there, whether that's you're going to Sam's Club to buy a bunch of frozen something to throw it in the oven and get that cooking up, and that'll maybe cost you $10-15 for a bunch of like little hors d'oeuvre types of foods and things like that, with maybe some drinks. Definitely budget yourself on that, because that's something you want to have there, because that's going to get people to stick around longer at the open house, so that way you have a little bit more time to kind of talk to them about what you could do for them and so on and so forth. Yeah, definitely have something there, so that way you can, again, try to maximize that. But again, don't break the bank. You don't need to go get some elaborate 5-star restaurant to come cater this for you or anything like that. Maybe get a friend to go fire up a grill in the backyard or something like that and have like a cookout, like a barbecue thing. We've got Memorial Day weekend this weekend, so you could say, hey, we've got a Memorial Day cookout open house. And again, you could get creative with this. We've got 4th of July coming up. You could say and 4th of July I think falls during the middle of the week this year, but you could do a Saturday, Sunday open house where people aren't celebrating 4th of July. They're in the spirit for 4th of July, so you're having the cookout. The cookouts are a great thing for the summertime. You don't want to be doing this yourself, because if you're out there manning the grill, you can't be wowing them. So you got to get some help with this here, a friend, a family member, a spouse, a sibling, whoever it is that you get to again, kind of like, be the grill master there, cooking up some hamburgers and hot dogs, whatever it is that you're going to do to kind of have that fun little vibe. And this works especially well when the property has a great backyard. If the property has a great backyard, the barbecue aspect is really something you want to hit on. And last thing before we take the break here is you want to have fun with this. You got to have fun with this. If you're not having fun, you're gonna have a hard time wowing them. So you want to have fun with this. Like I said, maybe have the flailing people, having some subtle music in the background, having a barbecue. Have it be a good place because if you don't want to be there, your visitors probably aren't going to want to be there as well. So again, you got to have fun with this as well. But that's what you need to do during the open house. Now, there's still one key important aspect for this, and that's what you do after the open house. That's important as well. We're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about what you need to do after the open house. If you guys got comments or questions, put them in the chats on Facebook and YouTube. Got them loaded up right here. I'd love to give you a shout out on the show. I'm John Carissimo. You're watching Ask the Instructor. Tampa 10 years ago is nothing like Tampa today. It's changed dramatically over those years, and that's what's really transitioning this to be the number one healthiest housing market
in the entire nation.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to reinforce crucial information while you exercise or drive. Listen to the first unit for free at mp3audioreview.com. That's mp3audioreview.com.
Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of Ask the Instructor. I'm John Carissimo. Every Wednesday, 12 noon Eastern Time, we come to you for Ask the Instructor to help you to understand the more technical side of this here. I want to give a shout out to Charles who sent in a comment. So Charles, he was watching our Friday show, and I believe that's maybe the first show that he had seen from us here. And he thought, I guess we were only on Fridays, but no, we don't only broadcast on Fridays. We broadcast on Fridays and Wednesdays, and soon to be released additional show on Monday. We'll tell you about that a little bit closer to the launch of that, but we want to help you as much as possible to grow your real estate business, and there's really so much more we could talk about with this stuff here. We're just at the tip of the iceberg, so you need to be tuning in every Wednesday, every Friday to help to understand this stuff. And Charles, if you don't want to be like Charles, make sure you're liking and subscribing the page, so that way you get notifications whenever it is we go live. If you're on Facebook, you could actually go onto the page and hit get notifications, so that way whenever we go live, you could actually get notifications of our live streams and know how to maximize your business. So make sure you're liking and subscribing. If you're subscribing on YouTube, you'll automatically get emails of whenever we're going live as well. Or if you're on tampaschool.com/success, that's tampaschool.com/success, you can put in your email on there and get email updates of whenever we go live as well. So you can help grow your real estate business. And this has been a great episode. I know we've covered a lot, and I've been talking really fast about some of this stuff, which I know that could be a lot sometimes, but hey, if I'm talking too fast for you, just go on YouTube and put us down to 50%. YouTube, you could change the speed if you're watching it on a computer. I usually up the speed on stuff, but you could also slow me down as well, which is the great thing about the internet and video. So we've got our last topic we need to talk about for the open house here. We've got about a little under 10 minutes left to cover this. And it's what you need to do after the open house. We talked about before the big emphasis is marketing. During, the big emphasis is wowing them and wowing them to the point to you're getting their contact info, so that way you can do what you need to do after here. After the open house, you need to be following up. And I know that's not the exam term, so if you're trying to study for the exam off these videos, this one on this Wednesday, probably you're not going to really have these open house types of questions on your exam with this here. You will see follow-up on there, but that's what you do after the sale. But talking about the sales definition, not the exam definition of follow-up, you got to stay in touch. Stay in touch with these leads. So when they're leaving, and this goes back to the during aspect of this here, you say, hey, when would be a good time for me to follow up with you guys here and check in with you to see when you want to go out there to go look at some properties. And you'll get some time from them that you can contact them at that time. Put that down in your little planner, your calendar, however it is that you're doing to plan out your day like that. So you got to stay in touch. That's the big emphasis of what you're doing after the open house. If you spent all this money and time advertising and marketing the open house, and then you did a great job wowing everybody, and you even got contact info from everybody, but if you don't contact them, what's the point of getting contact information? I'm going to say that again. What's the point of getting contact information if you're not going to contact them? And this seems pretty simple, but it's amazing how much attention gets pulled away from you. So this is such an important thing that you need to be doing afterwards. You need to be carving out time after you've done an open house to stay in touch with people. And you might want to do a post open house live stream. We're a big fan of live streams here. You may be watching the live stream right now. You are watching the live stream right now. So you want to maximize these live streams as well. They're popular. They're fun to do. They're easy to do. I mean, again, you don't need to have a big fancy studio like this. You can be just talking in the open house, saying, "Hey, look, we just finished up the open house today. We had a lot of people coming in, and there's a lot of attention on this open house. If you didn't make it to the open house, still give me a call. I could schedule you a private showing of the property, so that way you're able to kind of again have that call to action in there as well." But that's just one thing. That's just to kind of, again, try to market this. You're marketing before, during, and after the open house that you're doing this marketing, but you still got to stay in touch. And staying in touch, you'll have different levels of readiness. Different levels of readiness of people, how ready they are to buy a property. They might be ready to buy a property right now. They might be actively looking for a property. And if they don't have a real estate agent already representing them, I mean, you just struck the gold mine. You've been digging and you found the diamond with that if they're ready to buy a home now and they don't have any representation. But that's not going to be the norm. Again, you got to lower your expectations for some of this stuff here, so that way you don't get disappointed when you find out they're not ready to buy now. Because probably 90% of the people that you're going to be talking to, if not more, aren't going to be ready to buy right now. But they will be ready to buy maybe 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year from now. So how do you get them to remember who it is that you are? Because if they're deciding a year later that they want to go buy a house or sell their house, and you haven't talked to them since the open house, I guarantee you they're not going to remember who it is that you were. Even if you gave them business cards and folders and flyers and all this collateral, they've probably thrown that all out by now or lost it by now or don't remember where they put it by now. Or the point being is that they're not going to remember you unless you stay in touch. That's the most important part of the after aspect of this here. You follow up with them immediately, and a great way to do this, if you ideally you want to ask them that question, hey, would it be a good time for me to check in with you? And if they say, oh, well, that's all right, you don't need to do that. Oh, it's no trouble. When would be a good time? Or would it be better for during the day or the evening? I'm thinking maybe Monday. And that way you kind of just almost, and they might say, no, that's all right. Well, look, I just want to contact you to just do a little follow-up survey because my seller of the property wants some feedback on what you thought of the property. I know you're not interested in this property, but I'd love to get the feedback. Can I call you tomorrow afternoon? And then they may say yes. If they still say no, then is what it is. Okay, would you be all right for me to email you my weekly newsletter about home buying or about this market or about whatever it is that you have to give them with that? And you don't want to just have one method. You don't want to have one method. You want to utilize every method you have to stay in touch with them. And that could be the phone. That could be text messaging. That could be emails. That could be social media. It could be even direct mail, good old-fashioned paper mail. You want to use all of these methods. Don't just pick one method to stay in touch with them. You want to use every one of these methods to stay in touch with them so they see that you're an expert at marketing. And if they see that you're an expert in marketing and they want to sell their house, who do you think it is that they want to talk to? They want to get their house marketed to the extreme, so you have to show how you market to the extreme and how you do. And with this, you don't want to be annoying. Again, you want to go into all this stuff here, all this follow-up. Okay, what's in it for the client? What does the client want to hear when I'm calling them, or when I'm texting them, or when I'm emailing them, or I'm posting on social media, or I'm sending them letters? So that way it doesn't feel like I'm just throwing garbage at them. You don't want to do that because that's going to make you look bad. You got to show value. You constantly, always showing the value to them through the phone calls, the text message. You always have a purpose that's going to benefit them when you're doing this staying in touch aspect. And that's really the most important part of this after the sale. When you're doing, or after the open house. I'm thinking ahead here because this will result in a sale if you follow these steps here. So again, to sum this all up here, the open houses are such a huge way for very little money, if any money. You're probably going to spend some money somewhere, whether it's on the signs or the advertising or whatever it is that you could do. But there's a lot of ways you can kind of hack this and do it a lot cheaper. So this is the number one thing I recommend new agents do when they're getting into the real estate business, is to hold open houses. But if you're just holding an open house to hold an open house and you're just there kind of, just sitting an open house, I hear that term all the time and it makes me cringe when people say sit an open house, because you shouldn't be sitting at the open house. You should be running around wowing the people, the visitors walking into the open house. And if you don't have enough people coming in the open house to not be sitting, you did the before step wrong. There's 3 steps to have an effective open house: marketing before, wowing them and collecting contact info during, and staying in touch with them after the open house. If you're doing those 3 steps in the open house, I promise you're going to see great results from doing open houses, and you're going to love doing open houses because it's an easy way to gain your exposure, to gain new clients, but again, only if it's done correctly. You skip any one of these steps here, and that's really taking a big drop in the efficiency and effectiveness that you're going to see from these open houses. But that's our open house strategy. So again, you want to maximize those 3 steps before the open house. You got to market. During the open house, you got to wow and collect the info. And after the open house, you got to stay in touch. If you're doing those 3 things, you're going to get business. You might not get business right then and there, but you will get business down the road. And that's all I got for you guys today. Again, if you're watching this on the recording, you can still put in your comments and questions and whatnot, and we'll try to get to them after the show. Not we're going to try to get to them after the show. We will get to them after the show. That's a promise for you right there, that we will try to get in touch with you. If you're one of our students in one of our classes and you have a topic that you want to hear us discuss in greater detail, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be something that's covered in depth in the course. I think we maybe mention open houses in the actual course here, but this was all kind of, bonus stuff that you're getting on top of the actual course. So whatever your questions are, send them in to us. You can email info@tampaschool.com. You can go to tampaschool.com and check out all of our resources and stuff that we have. We've got all kinds of exam prep tools at passfirsttry.com. We've got the best courses in the state of Florida, whether you're doing them in classroom or online. There's not any online courses that are going to give you a better experience than we do. You have so many resources from us, so make sure you check that out. And again, if you have questions, just give us a call. The phone number is 813-928-0106. I'm John Kursmo. This has been Ask the Instructor. I'll see you next week, and thank you for tuning in. Tampa 10 years ago is nothing like Tampa today. It's changed dramatically over those years, and that's what's really transitioned this to be the number one healthiest housing market
in the entire nation.
Do you want to incorporate studying for your real estate exams into your busy schedule? Now you can review the key topics you need to know to pass your class and state exams with our MP3 audio review. Simply pop in your headphones or connect to your car to read information while you exercise or drive.
Hey, if you liked the show today, be sure to hit like and subscribe and post your comments. Thanks so much for watching.